Today at Wolf Lake, we'll be planting 6 trees that will consist of 3 sweet gum and 3 swamp chestnut oaks. As you can see over here, we're planting right in between a trail and a parking lot. When deciding on where to plant the tree, we want to use a rule of 20 to 25 feet in between trees, and we want to make sure that it's a decent distance away from any trails or roads. For instance, here at Wolf Lake, we're planting alongside a trail. We want to be maybe 10 to 15 feet away from the trail. So after we decide on where to plant the tree, we take the tree over to the planting site and release the root ball from the bag. Next, we're going to make sure that the root flare is not being covered up. The root flare is the buttress root, it's the base of the trunk. And now that we have our root flare exposed, what we're going to do is establish how deep to dig our hole by using the tail end of our shovel like a measuring stick. We set it to the ground right next to the root ball and take our hand and just level it with the root flare, and then grab our shovel, and then that will tell us how deep we need to dig our hole. There's a common misconception that roots are a mirror image of the tree that's above, but tree roots actually grow out very, very far horizontally. So our hole needs to be just as deep as the root ball, but twice as wide. Now that we have our dimensions in mind of how wide and how deep we need to dig our hole, go ahead and start digging. So once we take the grass off of the top, we're going to set that off to the side, but not too far because we're going to use it later. And our next step is to remove the actual soil. If we ever approach a site that yields soil that's really hard to get through with the shovel, what we'll do is have a designated person to pickaxe and loosen the soil up so that way it can be removed promptly. And just as the grass, we're going to set that soil off to the side, but not too far, because anything that we take from the earth, we want to be sure to put it back. Now that we have removed our top layer of grass and our soil, we want to make sure that we double check our dimensions. Set a shovel horizontally across the hole, which is going to give us an idea of what the ground level will be once we backfill it with soil. We're going to again set the shovel on the ground right next to the root ball, and we're going to make sure that it's level with the root flare. We'll then stick the shovel that we measured the root ball with in the center of the hole. If your hand lines up with the horizontal shovel, then you're in good shape. With that, we're going to take our tree and place it into its new home. If you see that the tree is not completely vertical, what you can do is take some soil from your soil pile and press it in on the side that the tree is leaning toward, and then that should correct it. What you can then do is begin to backfill the cavity around the root ball with the soil that you removed earlier. If you press your foot or your hand in the soil and it goes down a lot, you will know that there's air pockets. If you don't press the air pockets out, as the soil gets weathered, that soil will start to reposition the tree and have the tree growing in a certain direction that you didn't intend it to grow. To remove air pockets, you can take some soil and put some on top. After we have our soil placed back into the cavity with our tree growing nice and strong and straight, what we'll do is proceed to the next step of taking our grass and placing it along the perimeter of our circle that's twice as wide as our root ball. We want to make sure that the grass is face down because we don't want the grass to grow back, as it can compete for nutrients with the tree. So now that we have our ring established, we can then place our mulch on top of the ring surrounding the tree, as well as in the middle, but not covering up the root flare. So now that we have our tree nicely planted and mulched, what we want to do is take our rake and make sure that we don't leave a mess. We can rake any mulch or dirt so that it can become part of the mulch pile. Next, we're going to come back around to water. And now we have our tree.